Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bittensor Brief number 5. So let's just talk about AI first, right? So this whole AI boom began with ChatGPT, right? So it's sort of, we spent 30 or 40 years saying AI was just around the corner, and it wasn't, and then all of a sudden it was here, and we had AI which could pass the Turing test, like really good AI, and ChatGPT was the front door to this AI, and it went from 0 to 100 million users in 2 months. And we've literally never seen anything adopted that fast. There's never been a user adoption curve that was just like this, right? From 0 to 100 million users, literally, 2 months is basically overnight, right? So even the internet wasn't like that, right? Even Uber wasn't like that. Even Google wasn't like that, right? We've literally never seen this before. And right now, that's of course fueling some massive valuations in the AI sector. So you got companies like Anthropic / Claude, latest valuation 61.5 billion. But Google DeepMind, it's within Alphabet. It's a $2 trillion plus parent. Mistral AI is at 6.2 billion, but eyeing a $10 billion valuation. Cohere at 5.5 billion. Stability AI at 1 billion. So, all these things are already sort of astronomical and large. I'm old enough to remember the early days of the internet, and sort of back in the late 90s when I was in, part of the whole .com boom. Companies started off being worth like 1 to 5 million, and that was sort of the seed round that you could get in if you were an angel investor, and ride these things up to multi-billion-dollar valuations. And even when Jason Calacanis invested in Uber, I'm pretty sure the valuation was like around 5 million, right? And now most companies, when you invest in early stage companies, a lot of them have like insane valuations. And by insane, I mean like 50 million, 100 million. Like that's the seed round, right? That's the Series A. Within Bittensor, the valuation of subnets, the subnet itself has a valuation when it's born in the Bittensor ecosystem. But right now, these subnet valuations are not very high. So the biggest valuation we have is Shoots at 80 million. Right. And most of the subnets are sort of floating around, 1 million to 5 million, maybe as high as 10 million in valuation. And that's kind of it. So it's very comparable to the way early internet startup companies were valuated when they were first born. And it's more in line with what Uber itself was valuated at when Jason Calacanis invested in it as an angel investor. That's sort of a normal valuation for an early stage company. Historically speaking. And the reason why the subnet valuations are not that high yet, it's pretty hard for even crypto people to get into Bittensor subnets, right? In order to do that, they have to go buy this new coin called TAO. They have to get it on a centralized exchange. They have to set up a Bittensor wallet. They have to learn how to operate subnet TAO staking to get alpha tokens to invest in subnets. And so they cannot use the things that they're used to, like a MetaMask wallet, like Solana, like Ethereum, and they have to like get this whole new coin on this whole new chain with a whole new wallet using whole new tools. And for many of the people in crypto right now, that's too far. That's too far away from what they're already used to. And there are bridges coming which are going to help people from Ethereum and Solana get into Bittensor subnets. And those things are just arriving now, but and some of them are up and running and working today, but it hasn't penetrated the sort of mind yet of the people on Ethereum or Solana that they can get over to Bittensor, much less why they should. They just haven't figured it out yet. So it's sort of early days before the masses know about this. The second reason why is that there are only just now services and products available for institutional money to come into Bittensor. So in order for very large dollars, hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars to flow from institutional capital into Bittensor, there are all these products and services that have to be in place first. Kind of the train tracks have to be built before the train can roll into this new territory. Those train tracks are also just now coming online. And I'm someone who's building a Bittensor hedge fund. I use those tracks, right? So it's only just literally within the last couple of weeks, in some cases, been possible for me to do what I want to do and get what I want to get set up. So we're in this sort of magical period right now where the subnet valuations are very low, but and this is not financial advice, but all indications are that these ramps into the Bittensor subnet universe are going to come online in force, all kind of at the same time over the next 3 to 6 months. So right now you're in a really interesting and unique moment in history as I record this on August 21st, 2025. That's very much like, when Bitcoin was available on Mt. Gox for like $1. And it was hard to get, right? You had to figure out how to wire money to Japan. You had to figure out what Mt. Gox was, how to wire money to Japan, how to operate the exchange. It was very strange and odd and hard, which is exactly the way Bittensor is right now. It's a weird chain. It's a weird wallet. The tools are weird. But if you are able to figure out what's going on, it could be extremely rewarding down the road. And again, not financial advice, but obviously I'm a believer in Bittensor. I think this is another one of those things. I've seen several of them in my lifetime. I saw the early internet in the 90s, back when this version of Mark Jeffrey, here we go, in Entertainment Weekly, when I did my first company, The Palace, 1995, that was founded. So I was around when Amazon was founded, all these, companies which later became legendary big internet companies. These things don't come along very often. They come along once every 10 to 15 years. I think we're in another period like the mid 90s, like the late 2010s, when extraordinary opportunities are abounding. And I think Bittensor and the subnets are that extraordinary opportunity. It won't be that way forever. And I actually think it'll develop faster than both the internet and sort of the 2010 wave of companies. The internet basically needed the internet broadband to be built out in order for it to realize its full potential. During the sort of Uber wave, that was like a mobile device wave. So we needed the iPhone and the Android devices to proliferate and penetrate the market further. And that took 7 to 10 years. The internet took 7 to 10 years to kind of build itself out, right? We don't have to wait for that in the Bittensor wave, right? Because the vehicle for propagating it, the internet, already exists. Okay, so you're probably asking yourself now, how can I find out about these subnets? Where can I learn about these things? I'll start off with a new one that just popped up just this morning called TAOdaily.io. And it's just what it sounds like. It's kind of like a newspaper of everything going on in the Bittensor TAO universe. And there's like little articles. It's sort of like TechCrunch or even Silicon Valley Reporter, like that was in the 90s for the internet scene. TechCrunch was for, finding out about the startup scene in sort of the 2000s and 2010s. Then there's several podcasts. There's TAO Pod, which is a guy named JJ and James Altucher. There's my own Hash Rate, and you're watching Hash Rate right now. There's one called Novelty Search, which is sort of a Discord show put on by the founder of Bittensor, a guy named Const, and he runs it on Discord every Thursday at 2:00, and usually cross-posts it to X and to YouTube. And he basically interviews a new subnet in the ecosystem, sort of puts a spotlight on them and quizzes them. And then, of course, there's a show called Revenue Search by DSV. So a guy named Siam and Mark Creaser run that podcast. And that is a very sort of, as the name suggests, a very revenue-focused subnet, basically a novelty search, but with the focus on the business of the subnet more so than the vision and, what sort of technical issues they're having. Revenue Search doesn't care. Revenue Search is all about, I want to know, if I put $1 in on this end of the box, how soon does $10 come out that end, right? They're sort of focusing on the nuts and bolts of the financials of the subnets. And the shows tend to be very short. They try to keep themselves to 15 minutes. Really excellent job by DSV. Can't recommend that highly enough. So what is DSV? Well, DSV is a Bittensor hedge fund. And if you want exposure to the best subnets without having to research every one of these yourself, you can invest through DSV, who are the people behind the Revenue Search podcast. And DSV has already deployed $3 million into the Bittensor ecosystem. They're speaking directly to the founders, analyzing tokenomics, and negotiating early deals that most investors never see. Now, of course, I'm talking about my soon-to-be competitor, but really, this whole space is so nascent that even though technically they're a competitor, there's so much business here. This is that's like saying another internet company is your competitor in 1993, right? Together, you're really building the internet, and you're both going to do very well. Especially if you cooperate in the early days, it's co-opetition, as they used to call it back then. And I really feel like Siam and the people doing other hedge funds like DSV, and I love DSV. I think what they're doing is excellent, and I'm sure we're going to co-invest alongside them. I view them as an ally, not a competitor. So happy to recommend them as well. Now, of course, DSV is fully regulated and open only to professional or well-informed investors. They're in the UK, so I don't know what the rules for accreditation are for the UK, but I'm pretty sure you have to be accredited to invest with them as well. And of course, there's a DSV link in the video description down below. And of course, lastly, what are these subnets that you can invest in? So let's just, quick overview of some of the top ones. And these are ones that I've invested in myself and really like. So there's Shoots, which provides inference for roughly 1/6 the cost of anyone else. So if you want to host the latest AI models, DeepSeek, et cetera, they'll do it for you, and they have everything set up. And again, it costs 1/6 of what it would cost anywhere else. There's a company called Score, which is a computer AI vision company. And it's AI, it's AI vision. It's vision for AI. So being able to see in the real world. And their first application is doing scouting, AI-based scouting for European, so soccer football teams. Just today, a very interesting subnet just announced itself, Subnet 48, Quantum, which is real quantum computers available as a subnet, being served up by Bittensor. So just like Shoots and Targon serve up AI models and the hosting infrastructure required to run the inference for those models, Subnet 48 will provide real working, not emulators, real working quantum computers for the public to consume and use. And that's all we know so far, because it's just got announced right as I was recording this. So we'll hear more later. But that is extraordinary. That's the first time I have ever heard of a quantum computer being available outside of a lab or outside of a government, being made available directly to the public. So that is an extraordinary announcement. So anyway, my name is Mark Jeffrey. That's been a Bittensor Brief. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.